And they helped themselves yesterday in the free agent market by getting Haason Reddick, who is a pretty prolific edge rusher. Along with, he has linebacking skills. He can drop back some, play in a short zone. I don't think they want to give up what they listen. You know what Denver gave up to get. I was thinking about what they gave up to get Russell Wilson. Now let's translate what Denver gave up.
All right. We're going to be able to get Merrill in his car right now. Let's go to Merrill in his car here. And all right, Merrill, I tell you, man.
I apologize. I was stuck on the turnpike.
Typical. Hey, Merrill.
Yes.
All the news now. JAKIB came on a couple minutes ago and said that Deshaun Watson most likely in the next 48 hours will sign with the Carolina Panthers.
I don't know anything about that, but I would have said that it was very unlikely that he was going to sign with the Eagles.
Why? What? Just your no sources, nothing inside. What led you to believe that the Eagles were not in line to be a team where Watson would want to come and play?
I just think that he had his choice of several places, and I just don't think he wanted to come to Philadelphia. It's a tough fan base. I think he's more comfortable in a smaller market. I just don't feel. I just never felt that this was where he wanted to be. And plus, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni have been saying since the day the season ended, right through the owners' meetings, that Jalen Hurts is their quarterback moving forward. They have not been ambiguous about that. They have been very strong about that. So did they do their due diligence? I think probably 3/4 of the teams did. But I don't believe there was a real passion on their part for landing any of these available quarterbacks, including Russell Wilson.
Could it possibly have been, too, that, you look at Howie Roseman and how he didn't want to surrender the team's future. I mean, you're in a position, we've talked about this numerous times, Merrill. I mean, this is the greatest position that the Eagles have been in the Super Bowl era with all these draft choices, and you're $30 million under the salary cap as of right now. I mean, to really do something like that when you're in a position, you look at Dallas, look at them, and look at this, Merrill. They lost Amari Cooper. They lost Randy Gregory today. The Eagles got better just with the war of attrition of the salary cap alone. So they've got to feel pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, and Dan, they have 3 first-round draft choices. And they helped themselves yesterday in the free agent market by getting Haason Reddick, who is a pretty prolific edge rusher. Along with, he has linebacking skills. He can drop back some, play in a short zone. I don't think they want to give up what they listen. You know what Denver gave up to get. I was thinking about what they gave up to get Russell Wilson. Now let's translate what Denver gave up to what the Eagles gave to an equivalent of what the Eagles would have given up. The Eagles would have had to have given up 2 first-round draft choices, 2 second-round draft choices, a 5th-round draft choice, and Josh Sweat and Dallas Goedert. That's basically the same as what Denver gave up in terms of value. I just don't think it's worth it. I just think that they have a young quarterback. Why give up on a quarterback who the team rallies around, who the players really like, who has obvious leadership skills? Not that Russell Wilson doesn't. He does, of course. But here's a young guy who has played only 20 games. I might have said this to you before. Brett Favre actually played in Atlanta for a year before he had success in Green Bay. But Aaron Rodgers was drafted in 2005 and basically sat for 05, 06, and 07 before he blossomed in 2008. Drew Brees, you know what Drew Brees did in San Diego. They let him go. Miami even turned him down because they thought his shoulder was injured. And 4 years from now, Drew Brees will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know that. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, I'm not going to sit here today and tell you that Jalen Hurts is going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to sit here today and tell you he's going to be Aaron Rodgers, but I'm saying we don't know after 20 games what his ceiling is. You know what? If they, and I don't know who they'll get in free agency. They'll pick up a free agent wide receiver. But let's just say, for example, with one of those first round picks, they pick up a really good defensive player. Let's say somebody like Jordan Davis from Georgia. They've got the edge rusher. They pick up a Jordan Davis. Okay, that's great. Now let's say they pick up somebody like him, and then with one of those other picks, they draft somebody like Treylon Burks from Arkansas. I mean, he is a game-changing wide receiver. Or somebody like Wilson from Ohio State. I mean, they're really, really talented. And you put another wide receiver opposite Devontae Smith, and you watch how much better Jalen Hurts becomes.
How about this too? Let me ask you. He's coached by a father who was a coach, Jalen Hurts. The chatter that went on the whole time, and again, I'm not begrudging the Eagles for doing their due diligence and calling Houston and Nick Caserio the general manager. Just take a look around the league, Merrill. I mean, the 49ers, they made a move last year for Trey Lance. They got Jimmy Garoppolo, and reportedly they called and had a meeting with Deshaun Watson. 4 years ago, Baker Mayfield was the number 1 overall pick, and the Browns are talking to him. Atlanta's talking to him. So, but do you think there's going to be any collateral damage? Like again, I don't want to revisit the Wentz story, but it kind of is the Wentz story.
Well,
how do you think Jalen handles this?
I don't think he cares. That's the thing about, you know what? If your quarterback is worried about who they might bring in, then he shouldn't be your starting quarterback. I felt that last year. I felt that if, didn't they bring in Jordan Love? And I'm sure that Aaron Rodgers didn't like it. All he did was go out and have another MVP season. I mean, years ago, the Eagles drafted Kevin Cobb early in the second round. Donovan McNabb was their starter. Donovan wasn't happy. And the reason Donovan wasn't happy was not because he was worried about his job. He was worried because he felt they could have taken another offensive player to give him another weapon. But he could have cared less about the fact that there was another quarterback in the building. And to tell you the truth, Dan, that's the feeling I get about Jalen Hurts. He only worries about what he can control. He didn't worry when they brought in Gardner Minshew. He just went out and played and had some pretty good games. Didn't have a good playoff game. There's room for growth, but he only worries about what he can do. He's not going to let any so-called due diligence on the part of the Eagles worry him a bit.
I've got to bring this up. 2 last questions here for you, Merrill. I mean, I got to give Howie Roseman just a ton of credit for what he is doing right now. And again, hypothetically, let's say that they did make an offer for Watson. That's not on the Eagles if he didn't want to play in Philly. And again, we're all comfortable with doing this. Everybody around the league is looking to upgrade that position. Sure. I mean, it doesn't matter what you've done. You're going to try to get a franchise guy like Deshaun Watson. But with him signing Haason Reddick, a couple years ago, Darius Slay, under the cap, all the picks. Boy, I'll tell you something right now. They get this right here with 15, 16, and 19. Maybe they end up trading one of those picks. Howie Roseman is absolutely building this team for it to be the best team in the NFC East this 2023
I agree with you. I mean, look at the draft they're coming off of. Devontae Smith in the first round, Landon Dickerson in the second round, Milton Williams, who made a mark in the third round. They just really did well last year in the draft. So I think that this, and they have other players who play too. So I think they're going to be pretty good. I really do. Kenneth Gainwell in the fourth round. I mean, this team did some very good things.
Absolutely.
I'm not discouraged in the least.
What did you make of the Calvin Ridley story. And again, I throw this out to you, Merrill. I love when general managers are proactive. Okay, the Eagles had no idea this guy was going to be in any kind of issues like that. That's an Atlantic Calvin Ridley deal. But it shows me how he's looking for a veteran wide receiver. Do you read anything into that we still could be looking at something like that instead of maybe going in the draft, that he's looking for a veteran guy to go out and maybe make a move to bring in for Jalen?
I do think so. I do think so. I'd almost be surprised if they don't bring in somebody like a Juju Smith-Schuster. I would be surprised if they don't bring in somebody like that. On the other hand, I still think it's imperative that they draft one of those guys too. If you bring in one, it doesn't put you behind the gun in the draft. It doesn't make you draft a position for need. It makes you it puts you in position to draft the best available football player, even if, say, it's another offensive lineman. And they have a very good offensive line. So I think they've got a plan, and I think it's a sensible plan. Listen, when you're Doug Peterson and when you're Jacksonville and you're in the bottom of the barrel, you've got to do what the Jacksonville Jags are doing and bring in all those people this year. But the Eagles aren't in that situation. They're not an elite team. I don't mean to imply that because they made the playoffs in an expanded format last year that they're an elite team. But I'll tell you what, with 3 or 4 more impact moves, they could be a very competitive playoff team this year.
Absolutely. Merrill, I appreciate you taking time for me. And again, I know that you're a big Jalen Hurts fan here too. And again, I always told people, if I'm going to grade up from Jalen Hurts, it's got to be somebody like Deshaun Watson and not Jimmy Garoppolo. And we're going forward 2022 with Jalen Hurts. Thank you, Merrill. I appreciate it, my friend.
Sorry, I was late.
You're Merrill. You're never late. No, Merrill. You're never late. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
You got it. All right. It's funny that he brings up Jacksonville. I brought this up to Xander a couple minutes ago, or about an hour.